the amount of cavities these kids get. So they're making an educated guess. They believe if kids chew chewing gum, it should change their cavity rates. Right? So again, it's an educated guess. It's a hypothesis. After that, if you remember in our Tootsie Pop lab, after the hypothesis, then it was the procedure. And oh my goodness, here's all the procedure. There's a big old paragraph here that describes the procedure. Right? And then it goes on. There's another whole page that shows some more about the procedure. And then we go on some more. There's this page that describes the procedure. Remember I told you that these procedures have to make it so that if it's ever repeated, somebody should get the same result. So this is the third page describing the procedure that was done. And we go on to the fourth page. Here's some more procedure down here at the bottom. Okay. So we got a lot of procedure. Now I want to jump back for a second, and I want to show you that they actually did multiple studies all at one time. In this chart down here at the bottom, what we're going to find is there are 9 groups, okay? And each one of these groups had a different type of chewing gum. Well, the very first group was a group that had no chewing gum. So these kids came into the dentist office in Belize, and my dad and the other scientists checked their teeth, and then they went back home and they didn't get any chewing gum. And the people that controlled this for them was the teachers. When the kids came to school, if they were supposed to get chewing gum, the teachers would pass it out to them. So this teacher didn't get any chewing gum, and these kids were the control. They were considered to be the normal circumstances. Okay? Then we had the second group. The second group, they got sugar gum. Now the unfortunate piece on this one was they were given sugar chewing gum 3 times a day, every day for 4 years, basically 4 years. And my dad said the one thing that was really concerning was these kids ended up getting cavities. But the company, Leaf Corporation, did actually fix all their cavities when it was all over. They actually filled all their cavities to help fix them. Then the next group, they had the kind of chewing gum that we have around here, which only contains sorbitol. So that would be like Trident, one of the sugar-free chewing gums we have here. And then there were 2 groups that had xylitol, sorbitol mixed. That's going to be like the chewing gum that you might see at the grocery store that does say it has xylitol. So they had 2 groups of that. And then they have at the bottom, they have 4 different groups that had different amounts of xylitol in it. So they really did, even though there's 9 groups, the first group was the control. The other 8 groups, those are all experimental groups. So in every single one of these, they related back to the control group. So they really did 8 experiments in one all at the same time. So this is really looking at 8 different experiments and trying to see, did any of these different chewing gums change the amount of cavities that these kids got. All right. So I'm going to go on and show you. If you remember, we talked about data, and you collect data. So here's a chart. They collected some data, and then they do the analysis, and the analysis, they put it into a table. All right. I'm not going to go through this, and this actually, I don't even understand that this is the stuff my dad understood because he was a dentist, and it explains the different cavities that they had and where they were located on their teeth. But that was the analysis of the data. And then we go on to the next page, and again, there was some more data. All right, some more data put in. So again, I'm trying to show you that the scientific method is done even on big scale University of Michigan science experiment. So we get down to here, it shows right here this term, results. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm pointing the wrong one. Results, right there. Results, what this paragraph does, it shows the results that they ended up with. And this is where they help point out and said, hey, you know what? The kids that chewed xylitol did end up with less cavities. They didn't come in with 4 cavities. They actually came in with 0 cavities and actually negative amounts of cavities, which was amazing, right? The other thing I also like to point out is this little extra piece that was pointed out was a thing called dropouts. Now, what dropouts were, it wasn't, it was really kids that my parents said they would see them one year, and then the next year when they go down to Belize, the kid wasn't there. He didn't come in to get his teeth checked with the school. And it was like, where did these kids go? Well, unfortunately, this area that they were in was not very well off, and there was a lot of guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare means people that were anti the government that was down there. And this government or these anti-government people would come in and they would take these young individuals that were about in their early teens and they would recruit them to be in their army. And because they went into the army, they either stayed in the army or the unfortunate piece is they might have been killed. And there were a significant number of kids in this study that actually disappeared and never came back to the study. So they had to say something about that because they wanted to point out that, you know, we do have some individuals that we don't have results for. So it was really, my parents said it was really sad to see each year, to see these kids that didn't come back. And there was, out of 1,277 kids, 416 never showed up again, ultimately, by the time this thing was done. That's a pretty significant number. So we go on, there was some more tables that show some more analysis of data, right? And then we get to this one. We're almost to the end of this. We get to the spot about the discussion, and I have a spot up here, a star, and I want to read this spot to you, and it says, the above data indicate that chewing gum usage can substantially affect cavity risk. So what was that statement? That's the conclusion. They're saying, hey, you know what? Our hypothesis was right. Yep, if people chew chewing gum, then it will affect their cavities that they get. Now, they also go into it and saying that the best one was xylitol. Okay? Second best, xylitol sorbitol. Third best, sorbitol only, and that's sugar-free sugar. The one that was terrible for them, sugar, chewing gum. Okay? So that was, and that's what the rest of this is, that they did a little discussion to point out this is what they found, and then they also make suggestions to other scientists that want to continue this. And this all goes on to the next page. There's a couple paragraphs, and you go through the acknowledgments, and down here, this is actually my mom's name, Diana Pape, to say that they want to acknowledge thank you for her help. So it's kind of interesting to see both of their names in this. So again, this points out all the scientific method, even though we do it in class, and it seems like, oh, they don't do this in real life. This is real life stuff. Even if you want to, next time you go to the dentist, ask your dentist about xylitol chewing gums. Your dentist should know about this because this is big, interesting stuff to them in regards to scientific research. They are all very aware of this, and this is still going on. And there's still studies being done about this to try and get this into society. So, last piece, when you do any like research paper, I always think it's interesting on this one that if you do a research paper in school, you're like, oh, you might have to do 5 resources. Well, in this paper that my dad was part of, here's the resources, and there's a list of some resources, and I think there's, 6 or 8 of them there. But we have to go to the next page. Here's the next page, and there's all the resources that were for this paper, this research paper that was done. So when they ask for 5 resources, that's a small amount compared to this very detailed scientific report that was done. Right. So again, there's nothing that you have to do in regards to this assignment. Right. I just wanted you to hear this and the whole idea of that there are actual real scientific experiments that are done out there that do go through the scientific method. Just like the idea of the vaccines that are being done, the reason why the vaccine is taking so long, one of the reasons why is because they got to go through the scientific method to determine that it does work. We can't just take it and just give it to people and say, yep, okay, well, there, here, take it, let's see if it works. No, scientifically, we have got to make sure it works before we give it to everybody in society. All right, with that, we'll talk to you later. See you.